Hello there, historian, strategist, and curious mind. Before we dive into the thick, humid jungles where every leaf could hide death, do me one small but very important thing. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification. Why? Because the story you're about to read is not some dry text from a textbook. It's a journey back in time to a battlefield where fates were decided, and two pieces of steel and would become legends. And your opinion is very important to me. Be sure to write comments at the end. Tell me, which rifle would you have chosen? Soviet succinctness or American power? Let's go. The whisper of leaves and the grind of steel. Imagine it. Vietnam. Humidity at 90%. The air is so thick you can drink it, and it's bitter with sweat and fear. You're walking down a trail. Every muscle tense to the point of trembling. On your back, a heavy pack. In your hands, a rifle, almost as long as you are. It's your only chance to survive. Suddenly a crack. Not a roar, not a burst, but a single, precise, slap-like shot. Your buddy falls, and you don't even understand where the death came from. From a wall of green, impenetrable and alive. The killer is invisible. All you hear is a light, almost musical sound. A clink. That's an empty stripper clip bouncing off, which the Viet Cong fighter deftly loaded into his carbine in a matter of seconds. This isn't a scene from a movie. This was daily life for thousands of American soldiers. And that very crack and that very clink were the voice of one hero of our story. The voice of the self-loading carbine of Semenov, or simply the SKS. Now, picture another scene. An open area, an airfield. The enemy is trying to storm the positions. And here, a different drama unfolds. A deafening, furious roar. Not single shots, but long, frantic bursts that make your ears ring. The barrel glows red hot. The soldier struggles to hold his massive rifle. But the power of this fire sweeps everything away. This is its rival speaking, the American M14 rifle. Two destinies, two philosophies, two pieces of metal, born in different corners of the planet, but meeting in hell to determine whose truth was stronger. This is not just a duel of rifles. It is a duel of worlds, a duel of approaches to humanity's most terrible game, war. Stay with US. The most interesting part is ahead. We will break down this duel piece by piece, and you will learn details that no textbook will ever tell you. A subscription and the bell are our strongest weapons against oblivion. The birth of Titans, where legends were forged. To understand what happened in the Vietnamese jungles, we must travel 2 decades back to the smoldering ruins of Europe and the industrial giants of America. The war had just ended, but the titans of weapons design were not resting. They were analyzing, calculating, learning lessons. The SKS, the genius of simplicity from the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union emerged from World War II weary, but unbroken. Its army had passed through the crucible of the most brutal battles, and its soldiers had colossal combat experience. This experience screamed, the future lies in automatic weapons. But not like the PPSH submachine guns, which were devilishly effective at close range, but helpless at 300 meters. And not like the Mosin rifles, accurate but slow. A revelation from Berlin. A key moment was the capture in 1943 of a German prototype, the Sturmgewehr 44. For Soviet engineers, it was like a lightning strike. The Germans hadn't just invented a new assault rifle. They had invented a philosophy. The philosophy of the intermediate cartridge. It was not as powerful as a rifle cartridge, but not as weak as a pistol round. A golden mean. Power sufficient to kill at 400 meters and controllability allowing for automatic fire. The USSR immediately launched its own program. The answer was their own, Soviet intermediate cartridge, 7.62 by 39 millimeters. And for this cartridge, they began creating weapons. Two geniuses, two designers entered a quiet but fierce competition, Mikhail Kalashnikov and Sergei Semenov. Semenov was an experienced, hardened veteran of weapons design. His SKS was adopted in 1949 at the dawn of a new, atomic era. And this carbine embodied all of Soviet military pragmatism. Why is the SKS a masterpiece? Let's break it down like a clock mechanism. Simpler is impossible. Its gas-operated piston and tilting bolt were ridiculously, geniusly simple. Fewer parts, fewer chances to break. Imagine soit mood, sand, moisture. The AK-47, as it turned out later, could also survive this, but the SKS had its own special reliability. It was like an old, trusted workhorse. It wouldn't let you down. The magazine is part of its soul, 10 rounds. Not 20, not 30. 10. And they were loaded not with a separate magazine, but with a stripper clip. A soldier would pull a metal plate with 10 rounds from his pouch, insert into guides on the bolt carrier, and push the rounds into the magazine with his thumb. Clink! The empty clip flew away. It was fast, elegant, and eliminated the loss of expensive magazines. Economy and rationality were its motto. Long barrel, accurate shot. A barrel 520 millimeters long was longer than that of the future AK-47. This gave the bullet a muzzle velocity of 735 meters per second and phenomenal accuracy at distances up to 400 meters. The SKS was a sniper duel in the guise of an automatic carbine. The SKS became a bridge from the era where every soldier was a lone shooter with a bolt action, to the era where he became a bearer of automatic fire. It was the first Soviet mass weapon for the new cartridge. And it was magnificent. But every medal has a reverse side. The world was changing. Tactic for changing. The genius, but more versatile and compact, AK-47 by Mikhail Kalashnikov began to push the SKS aside by the mid-50s. The Kalashnikov could fire in full auto. In close combat, in urban areas, it was king. It seemed the career of the elegant Semenov carbine was over. It was sent to second-echelon troops, to mobilization reserve warehouses. It seemed it would fade into history. The M14, America's last night. And on the other side of the ocean, the United States had also fought its war. Their hero was the M1 Garand rifle. Its characteristic ping of the ejected en-bloc clip was the most beautiful sound in the world to American soldiers. It was a reliable, powerful, accurate weapon. And American generals sincerely believed that the future lay in the development of this concept. They believed in one well-trained shooter who, with one accurate shot from a long distance, would take down the enemy. It was the philosophy of the sniper elevated to a dogma for the entire infantry. They were not impressed by the idea of an intermediate cartridge. To them, it was a step backward, a weakening of power. Our soldier must hit hard and far, was the sentiment heard in the corridors of the Pentagon. Thus, the M14 was born. Adopted in 1957, it was the culmination of the classic rifle school. Let's break it down to this American pride, power that knocks you down. The 7.62 by 51mm NATO cartridge was a real monster. Its muzzle energy was almost 1.5 times higher than that of the Soviet 7.62 by 39. It penetrated obstacles, retained lethal force at a distance of 800 meters. It was a cartridge for a real war, as they understood it in Normandy and the Ardennes. Heir to kings. The M14 was a logical development of the M1 Garand. It received a detachable 20-round magazine and, most importantly, a fully automatic fire mode. Yes, the M14 could fire in bursts. Here was the answer to the Soviet automatic rifles. Beauty and power. The rifle was made solidly. A milled receiver, beautiful wooden stock. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a symbol of American industrial might. It was beautiful. But here, too, there was a catch, a tragic flaw. The automatic fire on the M14 was a fiction. With such a powerful cartridge, the recoil was monstrous. A burst from a standing position, it was like trying to hold an enraged bull. The rifle jerked, the barrel rose to the sky. Only semi-automatic fire was effective, and even then only for a well-trained soldier. Moreover, the M14 was long and heavy, almost 1,100 grams heavier than the SKS and several centimeters longer. In the cramped space of the jungle or a helicopter, it became a clumsy club. And so these two titans, the last knights of the era of wood and steel, were thrown by their empires into the hellish inferno of Vietnam. Their duel began, the jungle as judge, where the truth was decided. Vietnam became that impartial and cruel judge who mercilessly exposed all miscalculations and confirmed all brilliant decisions. The SKS in its element, the ghost of the jungles. For the Viet Cong fighter, often poorly trained and without a powerful industrial base, the SKS was the perfect weapon. The shoot and disappear tactic. The Viet Cong did not engage in head-on collisions. Their element was ambushes, sabotage, night raids. And here, the SKS was priceless. Short, convenient for carrying in dense vegetation. One accurate shot, and an American soldier falls. Loading a stripper clip, a matter of seconds, and the ghost dissolves into the green haze, leaving no trace except empty casings. The Americans called this tactical technique crack, and that's it. A single shot, silence, and growing paranoia. Reliability is its middle name. In humid conditions, when the new American M14, more on it later, could fail due to dirt or poor quality ammunition, the SKS worked. It didn't require such meticulous care. For a guerrilla who lived in the jungle for weeks, this was a matter of life and death. The bayonet as an argument. The SKS had a non-removable, folding blade bayonet. For a Viet Cong fighter, who was often limited in ammunition, this was not a decorative ornament, but a real weapon of last resort in a sudden close-quarters fight. A psychological weapon. The lone, accurate shots from an invisible weapon drove American soldiers crazy. They didn't see the enemy. They couldn't respond with a hail of fire. They felt like targets in a shooting gallery. The SKS was not just a rifle. It was a tool of psychological warfare. The M14 in a trap, a night with no field for battle. For the American grunt, infantryman, the M14 very quickly turned from a point of pride into a burden. The wrong war. American generals were preparing for a major war in Europe against Soviet tank armadas, for positional battles in open terrain. Vietnam was a war of mobile groups, short clashes at arm's length. The long M14 snagged on vines. It was difficult to maneuver in a cramped space. The automatic rifle that wasn't. The automatic fire mode was a crutch that didn't work. Soldiers quickly realized that firing in bursts meant wasting ammunition and revealing their position. They would disable the selector, leaving only the semi-automatic mode. But then why carry the extra weight and complexity? The ammunition problem. The powerful 7.62 by 51 round was heavy. A soldier could not carry as much ammunition as his opponent with an AK-47 or even an SKS. This limited his autonomy on multi-day patrols. Economic background and analysis. The price of the duel. Let's look at this from an economic perspective. War is always a colossal expense. SKS production. Its production was established not only in the USSR, but also in Warsaw Pact countries, and, most importantly, in China, Type 56. China produced many millions of these carbines. Due to the simplicity of the design and the cheapness of the materials, steel and wood, the cost of one SKS was extremely low. Communist China could literally flood North Vietnam and the Viet Cong with cheap but effective weapons. It was an economy of quantity justified by quality. M14 production. The rifle was produced in the best American factories, such as Springfield Armory and TRW. It required more metal, more complex processing, and milling. It was expensive to produce. Each M14 was a high-quality product, but this quality did not pay off in the conditions of a guerrilla war. The American military machine, operating on the principles of mass production of expensive high-tech systems, airplanes, helicopters, faced a dilemma. Its main infantry weapon did not suit the theater of war. The crisis and the emergence of a new star, the M16. The failure of the M14 became so obvious that the Americans were forced to urgently adopt a fundamentally new rifle. The M16 for the small caliber 5.56mm cartridge. It was light, made of plastic and aluminum, and had a high rate of fire. But the first models of the M16 in Vietnam covered themselves in shame. They jammed, They broke, soldiers died because they couldn't return fire. The advertising slogan, "This rifle doesn't require cleaning," turned out to be a deadly lie. The irony of fate was that at the very moment when the Americans finally embraced the philosophy of the small caliber assault rifle, as Semenov had predicted with his 7.62 by 39 cartridge, their own weapon failed them. And at that moment, looking at their finicky M16, many American soldiers wistfully remembered the reliable, predictable M14. And the Viet Cong fighter, hiding in an ambush, lovingly stroked the stock of his old, reliable SKS. The duel had become more complicated. The legacy, what remained beyond the battlefield? The war ended. But what became of our duelists? Their fates after Vietnam turned out to be surprising and full of irony. The SKS, from guerrilla to hunter and collector. The SKS's career as an army weapon officially ended. But its second life turned out to be no less bright. A symbol of revolutions, millions of carbines produced in the USSR and China spread all over the world. The SKS became the weapon of guerrillas in Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East. It became as much a symbol of the struggle for freedom as its younger brother, the AK-47, only more authentic, old school. A hunter's trophy. Thanks to its phenomenal reliability and accuracy, the SKS became an incredibly popular civilian firearm, especially in North America and around the world. Hunters value it for its powerful yet manageable cartridge, capable of stopping any medium-sized game. It's a rifle with history, with character. Ceremonial weapon. To this day, the SKS, often with a special needle bayonet, can be seen in the hands of honor guard companies and in military academies. Its elegant, classic silhouette is perfect for parades. Its steel reliability outlived both the Soviet Union, the Politburo, and the General Secretaries. The SKS still serves people. It just switched from war to hunting and ceremonies. The M14, rebirth into the elite. The fate of the M14 was different, but no less honorable. The Americans did not write it off. They found a new, elite role for their powerful but clumsy infantry rifle. Sniper rebirth. The powerful 7.62 by 51 cartridge was ideal for sniping. From accurate, specially selected M14s, equipped with a good optical sight, they removed the automatic fire capability and obtained an excellent sniper system. This is how the M21 rifles were born, and later the M39 enhanced battle rifle. These modifications are still used today, where accuracy at long ranges is needed, surpassing the capabilities of the small caliber M16s and M4s. Weapon for special units. The power of the cartridge, capable of penetrating light cover, remains in demand in some special operations. The M14 and its designated marksman rifle, DMR, variant finds its niche in the hands of professional fighters who know how to appreciate its strengths and mitigate its weaknesses. A draw. The lessons of steel and fire. So who won that duel? The SKS or the M14? The truth is time won. Both of these great weapons summed up an entire era, the era of rifles created for the global battles of World War II. They were the last mass-produced rifles made of wood and steel, with which a soldier established an almost personal, tactile connection. They both fell, giving way to a new generation, light, plastic, high-velocity assault rifles like the M16 and AK-74. War became different, more rapid-fire, more mobile, more technological. But their duel ended in a draw. Both found their calling. The SKS, as a people's guerrilla, hunting, and ceremonial weapon. The M14, as an elite tool for snipers and special forces. They remind us that in the world of weapons, there is no perfect one. There is a tool perfectly suited for a specific task. For an ambush in the jungle, the SKS. For a precise shot at 1,000 meters, the M14. For storming a building, the AK-47 or M4. Their shadows still wander through shooting ranges, training grounds, and fields of past battles. You just have to press your cheek against the cool wooden stock, rack the bolt, and you'll hear their whisper. The whisper of an era when war was made of steel and wood, And at stake were not only the lives of soldiers, but the philosophies of entire superpowers. What do you think? Who was right in that duel? Which side would you have taken? Imagine yourself as a soldier in those jungles. What would you have chosen? The accurate and reliable SKS, or the powerful but heavy M14? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get a heated discussion going. And if you found this interesting, if you learned something new, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, and hit the like button. This will help us continue to tell such fascinating stories. See you soon.